Hey traders, and welcome to the Forex Focus. In this show, we look at the major FX pairs and we look at the opportunities that could be setting up for the week ahead. And we do this primarily from a technical perspective. So we're not really concerned with the longer term fundamentals and the longer term drivers of the currency pairs. We're looking at the short term factors that are going to affect momentum in the very short term and hence can make us a profit in the short term. So what we'll do is we'll jump over to the charts and we'll start by looking at the Aussie dollar. So if we take a look at the Aussie dollar and we look at it we start by looking from the longer term perspective, because it's always important to get context around the trades. We don't want to just sort of be focusing on the very, very short term charts for the triggers and not really pay attention to what direction is the general market moving in, because ultimately you're going to get a lot more high probability trades. You're going to make a lot more money if you take the longer term picture into account. So we'll start off by taking a look at the daily charts. And as we can see here on the daily chart, prior to the massive pandemic, so the COVID-19 outbreak, we had the Aussie dollar was trending downwards. So it was trending quite nicely downwards, respecting the 100 period moving average. And when I say respecting, let me clarify that. I don't mean that it's bouncing off of it, but it's just kind of paying attention to that particular average. And what you'll actually find is if we're drawing a trend line there, it's more paying attention to the trend line than it is the average. But that kind of is a nice way of contextualizing price in any case. Before it, we had a very quick pop up. So it looked like we were going to get some Australian dollar strength. And then obviously we had the outbreak and everything started to fall through the floor. And that's ultimately what it did. And then after that, we saw that the markets very, very quickly recovered. Now, I've always been a little bit dubious of this recovery. I felt like, the markets are generally sort of overestimating the recovery, and I felt that there would be a further move to the downside. However, every move to the downside or every attempt has been met with buying pressure. The only difference is if we zoom in here, we can see that this sell-off over here was met with buying pressure and we went off to new highs. The market then sold off again and we broke out to new highs again. The market then sold off again, and this most recent rally hasn't managed to break out to new highs. And we're still sort of respecting this trend line over here, and we're holding beneath the 100 period moving average. So what I'm thinking here is that if the market does hold below this level here, and let's just put in a horizontal resistance line there. If the market holds below this level there and also breaks below this level, so breaks below the 0.6370, then we can be looking for opportunities to sell the market. Now, how do we do that? I would then drop down to a shorter term time frame, so perhaps the 4-hour time frame, as we can see here, or the 1-hour time frame, and start looking for pullbacks in the trend. And what I mean by that is you're looking for things. If I go and give you a bit of an example, let's go back in time. Look at the 4-hour chart. We can't see it there. Let's look at what happened in the 1-hour chart when we got the previous sell-off. So if we look at the sell-off over here, okay, so the market sold off in a big way there. Now, how would you have played that? The best way to do that would have been looking for pullbacks in the trend as the market was giving us some momentum. So if we go in here and we change this over here and we go and we say, look, the market sold off through this level there. It's then given us a bit of a pullback, as you can see, then sell through that pullback. We get a level of support is printed over here. So maybe we could take a sell through that level of support. And ultimately what we're looking for is just opportunities to sell the market again and again and again, like you can see here. So the market pulls back a little bit, and after those brief pauses, we look for the opportunity to sell through the lows, and that's what I think we want to do here. So if I put in the resistance level there again, I'm looking at as long as the market holds beneath this level, and when it breaks through the 0.6371, I'm then going to become a seller, and I'm going to be looking for pullbacks in the trend, either on the 4-hour chart or the 1-hour chart. Depends which one sort of looks prettiest at the time, which one's most harmonic. I'll be looking for pullbacks in the market, and then I'll be selling into those pullbacks once we get below this level here. If we move on to the euro dollar, is a really difficult one to trade at the moment. In fact, if I pull up the dollar CAD, euro dollar, dollar franc, and dollar yen, and we look at it from the daily perspective, we can see that all of them, they don't really have much direction. So even though we got the sell-off and then the recovery, the markets are pretty much where they've been for the past month and a bit. They've gone up a bit, down a bit, but not really made or lost much ground. That's the dollar yen. If we take a look at the euro dollar, it's exactly the same thing. It's just coiling. We look at the dollar franc, it's exactly the same thing. So these particular pairs here, you'll see that I don't have them highlighted on the right hand side, and that's because ultimately I don't see any real opportunities in them at the moment. As traders, we want to be in the markets when the markets are moving, when they're moving with momentum. Even in range-bound markets, we make money when the markets are moving. We don't make money if the markets just move sideways, and that's what these are doing at the moment. So until they break out of their little ranges, so for example, let's say the dollar franc here, we wait for it to break out above there or break below this level here, then I'm not really going to pay much attention to it. Same thing with the dollar yen. It looks like it wants to go lower, but at the moment it isn't really proving that. So when we get a move below 106 around that level there, then I can start to entertain it. Dollar franc, we've already looked at that. Dollar CAD, we're looking really at this sort of area over here and this sort of area over there to the downside. We're waiting for the market to either break below that or above that. And then finally with the euro dollar, it's just really a complete untidy mess. So I'm going to wait for a move above that level or a move below this level here in order to trigger some momentum moves. You know, when the market gets towards the highs or the lows, I may look at the price action and look to trade bounces. But as I just said, ultimately, we want momentum in the markets to be able to make money. And at the moment, I don't see momentum in any of those markets. So at the moment, it's just the Aussie dollar really, of the pairs that we've looked at so far, that is presenting any opportunities. However, we have two major pairs left to look at. One is the pound dollar. So if we look at the pound dollar from daily charts, it's a similar picture to the Aussie dollar in that we got the big sell-off and we have the recovery pulling back towards this sort of 100 period moving average. It's held below the highs, so whereas the market broke out to new highs here, it hasn't managed to do that, but this one has got way more momentum to the downside. So we can see here the market is actually already broken through that level, which ultimately means going into next week, if this momentum can hold, I'm really looking for opportunities to sell. If we jump over here to the 4-hour chart, we can take a look. We can see that, let's just zoom in there for a second. See that the 4-hour chart, we've got a lot of momentum beneath this level. Do I think that we're going to get a major pullback here? Perhaps not. We might just get a bit of a pause. So if we take a look at this sort of price action over here, where the market sort of sells off in a big way, then gives us a couple of candle pause, so 4, 8, 12 hours, and then breaks down again. We may well see this. We may see that over the Asian session later on, the market just kind of moves sideways and then eventually breaks down and gives us opportunities to sell. But ultimately, with the pound dollar, really, I'm looking for opportunities to sell next week unless the picture changes completely and we start to get momentum to the upside. I think that selling pound dollar, selling cable is the right way to go about things. And similar sort of thing here for the New Zealand dollar as well. What I like about this is that we've also got a little bit extra adding to our technical picture here. So if we put in a trend line, we've had a break beneath that trend line. If we go to the highs there, I know that we're on the 4-hour chart. In fact, let's be a little bit consistent. Jump over to the daily chart to start off. We can see that the market hasn't broken above those highs. It really looks like we have momentum to the downside. We have this trend line in here as well, so that adds a little bit more weight to our technical picture. And then it's going to just be a case of looking to trade the pullbacks wherever they are, whether that be on the 4-hour chart or whether that be on the 1-hour chart. You know, ultimately wait for the markets to kind of pull back a little bit, move sideways, give us some consolidation. And once we get the consolidation, sell through the lows. And then ultimately, if we can do that on a consistent basis, we should be able to make money. Now, it's important to note that we're not going to make money on every single trade that we take, right? So it may be that we get into some of these markets and they go in the opposite direction, but that's trading for you. We have to understand that that's what, you know, trading is all about. Ultimately, we'll come up with a plan. We'll look at evidence. All of the evidence at the moment in the trades that we were looking at are pointing to a move to the downside. So we're going to be taking the trades to the downside. More often than not, we should be able to make money with these types of trades. But don't be discouraged if 1 or 2 trades don't go your way. Even, you know, if the market then gives you another opportunity to sell, you have to take that because that's what we're looking for. That's what momentum is pointing to at the moment. Obviously, if the market starts to then break up in a big way and give us momentum to the upside, that's going to invalidate the trades that we were looking at. But, you know, I hope this gives you a bit of an inkling as to what I'm looking to do next week. Obviously, these are the major currency pairs. You can apply the same sort of principles that I teach you on the show here to some of the crosses as well. So, you'll find opportunities in the pound Aussie, the pound New Zealand, the euro pound, for example. There are a bunch of charts out there that are showing similar bouts of momentum at the moment that we're able to take advantage of. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the show here. I hope you found value. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to stay up to date with all of the videos as and when I release them. Otherwise, have a fantastic week in the markets, and I'll speak to you in next week's Forex Focus.